This is Michael Popok with a Legal AF hot take coming out of Georgia. Criminal court judge McAfee is not going to stop the wheels of justice and stop the proceedings in Georgia just because a fair amount of the defendants are going to appeal right now in an interlocutory appeal, which I'll explain, his order from last week keeping Fani Willis on the case as the prosecutor for Fulton County, as long as she fired, which she did, Nathan Wade resigned as her special prosecutor, thus resolving the appearance of a conflict that the judge found. Knowing that the defendants, including Donald Trump and Mike Roman and their lawyers, are going to take the appeal, the judge, yes, has certified the appeal, allowing them to do so. Judge has to do that. A trial judge has to do that because this is an interlocutory appeal, meaning it's not happening at the end of the case where generally appeals happen. Appellate courts, state and federal, don't generally like interlocutory appeals that happen during the course of a case before its conclusion because they like to handle all appellate issues, all error issues, all reversible error in one fell swoop at the end of a case. And they don't like to be bothered in between. There are some issues that come up, and we've discussed them on Legal AF and on hot takes like this one, including like immunity for Donald Trump. That's another example of an interlocutory appeal. Now, in that case, because of the nature of immunity, that did stop the case in its tracks, which I'm sure is the reason that Scott McAfee is letting the world know that his case is not about immunity and not about that type of defense that divests his court of jurisdiction. And he intends to continue with the myriad of other motions and other proceedings in front of him that he will address in due course, even while the appeal is pending. Because there's three different scenarios here, none of which seem to concern Scott McAfee. The appellate courts could decline to take appellate jurisdiction because they don't want to take an interlocutory appeal on this issue. It's a discretionary, not an appeal as of right, meaning the appellate court has to approve it. They could take one look at it and say, well, there's not enough serious questions here. There's not enough issues that concern us. We're not going to allow the appeal at this time. We'll see at the end of the case. That's one. Two, they could grant the appeal, but keep it on a normal track, meaning that appellate issue could go on for over a year. Or three, they could grant the appeal, but they could expedite it, meaning they could require quick briefing of the issue, a fast oral argument, and make their decision. Scott McAfee has said, I don't care which of the three scenarios happen in his new order. I don't care whether you get the appeal, they grant you the right to appeal, they grant you an expedited appeal, or it's on a normal track. I am not staying my proceedings. They are going to move forward. The wheels of justice are going to move forward, right? He said in his order, I have a lot of motions in front of me that need orders. I've got, there's at least like a half a dozen motions to dismiss about the merits of the indictment and other alleged prosecutorial misconduct that he has to address. And he says, I'm going to address all the other motions. He says, citing case law, that the supersedious, meaning the stay of the case or the stop of the case or the appeal issue, is only on one issue. On everything else that's not subject to a supersedious event at the appellate level, I'm going to make my decision on issues that have nothing to do with whether Fani Willis had a conflict of interest because of a relationship she had with her special prosecutor. He's right about that. Now, with one caveat, could the appellate court grant a stay and force the trial judge to stand down? Yes. What Scott McAfee is signaling here is he's not going to grant a stay. Like, don't even ask me for a stay. I'm not granting a stay. I am moving and progressing this over almost 2-year-old case forward. And if you don't like it, then go to my bosses at the appellate court, the one that sits over Fulton County, Georgia, and then ultimately the Supreme Court of Georgia, and get a stay. But I'm not giving you one. I'm going to continue to rule on issues. The prosecutor is going to continue to represent the people of the state of Georgia and in Fulton County as the elected constitutional officer to be the Fulton County prosecutor. She's done what I've asked her to do. She's resolved the appearance of impropriety and the conflict of interest that I determined existed after hearing 3 days of evidence. And she's done that by accepting the resignation of Nathan Wade, and I'm moving on. And the rest of you better come along with me, because and don't try to take the game ball home with you, because we continue. And so I wanted to give here, as part of this analysis, this breaking news analysis, what happened and what happens next. What's going to happen next is Trump, Mike Roman, the others are going to now with the certification ask for the appellate court to grant them the right to have an appeal. They don't have an appeal as of right. There are certain types of appeals that you automatically have without having to ask for the court to exercise appellate jurisdiction. This is not one of them. So they're going to have to ask for it in briefing. They're going to ask for, I'm sure, for a stay. They're going to say, Judge McAfee's not staying the case. We're being irreparably harmed. We're being injured. We're being prejudiced. It can't be fixed in the future. Our justice rights, our due process rights, and the like. And the appellate court that sits over Fulton County, the intermediary appellate court, because there's always two levels of appellate court in most states, is going to have to make a ruling on that. And a ruling on whether this has to be stayed. I don't see the grounds, if I were the appellate judge, to stay the rest of the proceedings because they're trying to sort out who the prosecutor is. It doesn't, the merits are being decided by the judge, right? Sure, Fani Willis's team is going to be on the other side arguing, but the law is the law and the facts are the facts, and the judge in the black robe makes the decisions. So I don't see how they're being compromised or have their due process rights undermined, even if they were eventually successful in removing Fani Willis, to have certain motions now decided by the judge. And so I think they're going to be hard-pressed to make a compelling good faith argument as to why this issue of her removal has to be decided right now and everything else has to stop. But they'll ask for that. I think it gets denied. I think the judge, McAfee, continues to progress the case, administer the case, and issue rulings seriatim, one after another, on all the rest of the motions and get them all cleared away. The way we're seeing Judge Merchan, a more experienced, I almost said educated, a more experienced judge in New York is doing with the Stormy Daniels case as it prepares for trial in April. Clear away the motions, one at a time. You could do it in one big order, or more likely, given his rules of his chambers, his court rules, he'll do them one by one. All right, issue the 6 or 7 motions. We already know McAfee 2 weeks ago dismissed 6 of the 41 counts, including a couple against Donald Trump. Fani Willis has a choice now that she's now survived the motion to disqualify as to whether she's going to re-impanel the grand jury and try to re-indict on 2 of the counts that Donald Trump had dismissed, including a standalone count related to his phone call to the Secretary of State to try to overturn the will of the election, the will of the people and the election results. She's got to make that decision. It's going to be her decision to make. That's what they're worried about, that she's going to continue to make major decisions in the case as the prosecutor because she is the prosecutor. And so they're worried about that. So she'll have to make that decision. If she's not going to do that, she's just going to take her lumps and say, all right, I got 35 other counts. I'm just going to go after them, including the racketeering, influence, and corrupt organization count, the RICO conspiracy count, which is at the heart, the driver of her indictment. It still survives, right? And so she's going to have to make that decision. That'll get decided in yes, I have a dog in the background. That'll get decided in due course. And then from there, the decisions are going to have to be made by the judge on that. And then the judge is going to have to set a trial date. At the rate we're going, just to manage expectations, the trial date in Georgia is either going to be late summer, right? The dog days of summer, given my dog in the background, or not until after the election. And even if it starts, Fani Willis is on record as saying it's an 8-month to a year trial. So the Georgia trial is never going to finish before the election. That's why the election November 5th is so important. Because if Donald Trump wins, he's going to get a court to order that even the state cases get stayed while he's president. So he's quote unquote not distracted by these matters. And then he'll have to pick up again when he's 85 years old if he were somehow to win the election. If he loses the election, of course, he doesn't have that defense, which is the reason why he's running for office. He would not, I assure you, he would not be running for office if he was not looking down the barrel of 4 criminal indictments and civil cases related to what happened on Jan 6th and his role in trying to overthrow democracy. He would go back to being a Florida guy, a retiree in Florida, living off his pension and his real estate fraud for the rest of his life. This is the reality of a man, a desperate person, right? Like a soon-to-be fugitive, and what he tries to do in order to avoid meeting his maker in the courtroom. We'll continue to follow what happens in Georgia, very important. And her next steps, Fani Willis's next step as the Fulton County DA, very important for us to watch what happens? Has she been somehow, her wings been clipped? Or is she just as robust and powerful as we've always expected from Fani Willis in her pursuit for justice and going after Fani Willis? If I was a betting man, I would say this that did not kill her will make her stronger, not weaker, in her desire and effort and focus on justice and bringing Donald Trump and the others to justice under her conspiracy case. We'll follow it on Legal AF on Wednesdays and Saturdays at 8 p.m. right here on this YouTube channel. Help them get to 3 million on YouTube. Very easy. It's a free subscription. And follow me, Michael Popok, at MS Popok, and on Legal AF on Wednesdays and Saturdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on YouTube, and then on audio podcast platforms of your choice. So until my next hot take, you can leave a comment here. You can give a thumbs up. Interacting with the content keeps us on the air, helps with the ratings. Until my next hot take, until my next Legal AF, this is Michael Popok reporting.
Hey, Meidas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram at MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.